Don't know. It's one of the great sort of debates of modern time. Really, is whether Jaffa Cake is a cake or a biscuit.
That's a good question. Yeah.
We have this conversation at work quite a lot.
So I had this argument last week with my fam.
I've heard this argument before.
Munchkins. They're after that special McVitie's recipe for Jaffa Cakes. I'll show them.
Oh, a little sponge with
It's
jam
a
and
biscuit.
chocolate on top. Yes.
Definitely a biscuit.
It's a cake. It says it on the box.
It's a biscuit.
It's cake.
I think it's biscuit, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm American. It's a cookie.
It's a biscuit cake.
Biscuit cake, that's good. I'm going with her.
The way the question's put, is a Jaffa cake a cake or a biscuit, suggests that it must be one or the other. It might be both. The features of cakes and biscuits might overlap.
Biscuit comes from the French, cooked twice. And most biscuits aren't cooked twice now, but they're definitely cooked till they're crisp. Whereas, as I said, most cakes have a slightly softer texture, a spongy texture.
The meaning of cake and biscuit changes over time, and often it's difficult to know what particular definition we're looking at any one particular moment.
Well, biscuits are generally a mixture of fat, sugar and flour, so they're crisp.
Lush, light sponge, rich, plain chocolate, and that smashing orangey bit in the middle, as only
There's a
McVitie...
kind of sponge called a fatless sponge, which is you make Swiss rolls with, and this has got a fatless sponge base and a jelly middle and a chocolate topping. It's quite dry. It's reasonably crisp when you break it, but it's still got, look, that's not making any snap, and it makes crumbs. So I would say that's definitely a sponge base, not a biscuit base.
Say, take a Jaffa cake. It might be that Jaffa cake is a cake and a biscuit. For instance, the sponge and the flour, we tend to associate this with cakes, clearly. Though with biscuits also possibly. The fact that cakes and biscuits are edible is obviously one of the features in terms of which cakes and biscuits are cakes and biscuits. And though again, the genetics are called non-humoglobin. Now, what do we have in mind with a cake of soap?
Help!
Because it looks like a biscuit.
And it's in a biscuit packet. If you leave biscuits out, they go soggy, and if you leave cakes out, they go hard, and when you leave Jaffa cakes out, they go hard, so they're a cake.
Because they're sold on the biscuit counter. They're really tasty.
That's a good point.
Half moon.
Half moon.
Total eclipse.
In 1991, the Commissioners for Customs and Excise decided that Jaffa cakes were confectionery and were due to have VAT paid on them. That would have made things very much more expensive for United Biscuits or McVitie's in producing them. So McVitie's took the Customs and Excise to court.
On Thursday the 13th of June and Tuesday the 30th of July 91, sitting in London, I had the appeal of United Biscuits UK Limited. That decision concerns a form of confectionery called Jaffa Cakes, which have previously been regarded as zero-rated. The Commissioners now have ruled that they are biscuits covered in chocolate, and as such, liable to the standard rate of VAT.
We see the classic Jaffa cake, and the point is that is soft. It's made of a thin egg batter, and the court said that on balance that's probably what makes it a cake. Here we have the delightful chocolate digestive, and it is clearly a biscuit because it's hard. It is covered in chocolate, so therefore it would have VAT on it. We have here a sort of rich tea, which is a biscuit, but it's got no chocolate, so it's not confectionery, it's not got any VAT on it. We have a cake. It's actually a proper gâteau, and it is not a biscuit because it is soft, and as the judge said, if you can cut it into bits and if you leave it and it goes hard, then it is a cake. therefore it is not.
I now list the facts and considerations that I've taken into account in arriving at my decision. Name. This is a very minor consideration indeed. Ingredients. Well, the ingredients of the sponge part of the Jaffa cake are virtually the same as the ingredients of a traditional sponge cake. Size. Substantially smaller than the average cake. Texture. The Jaffa cake has the texture of a sponge cake.
I refuse to eat a biscuit as advertising. Yeah,
it's a cake at biscuit prices.
Yeah.
If it was actually that big, it'd be a cake.
Yeah, exactly. But
it's that
not
big.
That big. It's a biscuit.
Yeah, but you can have an angel cake that's big, can't you?
Yeah, that's true. It's either it's cake. It's half cake, half man, half biscuit. Half cake, half biscuit.
No, it's definitely a biscuit. Isn't it?
It is a biscuit.
It is a biscuit.
Probably cake is because of this. That's kind of more cake texture than biscuit. I'd still class as a biscuit, even though it tastes kind of cakeish. I'm losing the will to live here.
I know.
We are the Munchkins and we're mad on Jaffa Cake.
In my opinion, a Jaffa cake is definitely a cake. It's a fatless sponge with an orange jelly and a chocolate topping.
If my life depended on it, I would say that a Jaffa cake is a biscuit. I think I would say that because of the way it clearly sits in my hand, because of the chocolate covering, and although there's a sponge on it, it's not a terribly thick sponge. If the sponge were a few inches thicker, I think I would say it was a cake, a cupcake.
Well, the judge came to the conclusion that a Jaffa cake is a cake, but I have to say in this example, I suspect the law is a bit of an ass, because ask any housewife, ask any child, ask any lawyer, Jaffa cake's a biscuit. And a lovely one.
Generally, I come to the conclusion that Jaffa cakes have the characteristics of cakes, and also characteristics of biscuits or non-cakes. I conclude that they have sufficient characteristics of cakes to qualify as cakes. I also determine that Jaffa cakes are not biscuits.
Oh, wow. Wow, look, it's a fireman's helmet. And, got a little igloo. Now, want Mommy to make you a set of funny ears? Hmm?